I think it's actually good to suck at something. Sometimes after we do something, we feel weak, or we feel like we suck at something and could be better. We feel frustrated because for some reason we weren't able to perform as well as we wanted to. We didn't meet our expectations. If only we had that power, if only we had that skill, or if we had that ability, we wouldn't have to suffer this frustration, right? But this same frustration is the same reason we're actually able to get better, if we act on it. I remember back when I was in elementary school, math was originally hard for me, but because I continued to practice, it eventually became easy, like second nature. I didn't have to think anymore. I just put the numbers together, and eventually math became a feeling. Even through calculus, it was the same thing. But I really didn't focus on reading or comprehension or any sort of reading skills until I hit college. I know it sounds weird to be able to get that far in my life without really focusing on reading, but most of the things I was good at was because I practiced, because I put forward my frustrations to improve. It was like a skill that was meant to be built up. But because of this, I was able to see both sides of the same fence. Either way, it had to do with academics, and it wasn't so much the concepts in those. Grammar was easy. Understanding physics was actually pretty easy. Understanding why things work in science was pretty easy. But that was because I focused on the same thing I did in math, which was why and how are we able to come to the conclusions that we were able to get. But when it came from extracting information from sentences and words, when it came from trying to understand what was going on in a book and what was being said in a classroom, unless I had the results right in front of me and the initial conditions, just like how it is in math, there was no way I could learn. But I never really practiced reading, until now at least, now that I'm an adult. It wasn't just that I sucked at reading and extracting stuff, it was that I let myself continue to suck at that. When we're bad at something, and we continue to be bad at something, it's easier for us to continue to say we're bad at something than to act on that frustration, to act on that lacking. The thing is, you can hire a personal trainer, you can hire a life coach, you can hire a mentor to help guide you and get an expert's opinion on what you should be doing differently. But if you don't act on what they say, what's the point? Why do we even hire them at that point? Getting a one-on-one private lesson from a mentor, coach, or someone is pretty costly because they focus on what you're missing and they're trying to focus on how they can give it to you. But that doesn't mean the mass classrooms where you have too many people in that class where nobody's really the focus. It doesn't make it worse. It's just that you have to see it differently and use that opportunity differently. It's actually the same as training yourself when you don't have a coach. The people who teach us can always give us information about what we're missing. We even know what we're missing sometimes. But because we assume that it's easier to say that's what we're missing, instead of going after it, instead of believing the possibility that we can give it to ourselves, we don't do anything. We continue to say we're going through the motions, that we're doing our best, but we aren't solving the problems that are right in front of us. So it's okay to suck. In fact, I think it's good that we suck at things. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't know what we were missing. And that means that when it's hard for us, that's a reason for us to get good at it. If we have no interest in whatever that is, obviously then we're not going to do it. But if it's something that matters to you, and you suck at it, don't let that get you down. Use that as a rubber band to propel you forwards. Use that as a way to really try to understand what they're trying to advise to you of what you're lacking. Maybe you don't even have somebody to tell you that. Then keep playing around. Because eventually you will figure out what it is you are missing. You will figure out that there's something that isn't working. Because most of the problems that we've solved in life have already been solved by somebody else. Somebody who has already had better abilities than us. That doesn't mean we can't exceed their abilities, but they've already solved the problem. And that means that it's solvable. Because even though every single human being may have different abilities, we may look different, we may come from different backgrounds, may have different sort of resources, may have access to different power and different contacts. But that doesn't mean it's not solvable. The power of being a human is not that we are stuck. The power is that we choose to use that ability of being stuck to make the impossible possible. And as long as we continue to understand that it is possible, that it is something we can achieve, that means that we can continue to use that feeling of being lack or sucking at something to propel us, not to put us behind, not to say that we suck at something and give up, but to go after something because we know we lack it. So don't give up. Don't quit now. And if you're still at the starting line and you suck, you should be happy that you suck. Because you were given something that people who are talented will never have until they reach resistance of competition. You have something that no one else can give them until they lose. And that is that loss. That loss tells us that we need to put out more because we're missing something. Whatever that is that you are lacking, whatever I'm lacking, can't let that defeat us. We can't let that be something that says game over. That's just a second disc. That's for us to put in the game console, and that's for us to play. Thank you.